Hey guys, it's Lee with Mantis Mechanics, and today we're going to talk about an ancient Kung Fu exercise called the duck walk. Okay everybody, the duck walk. Basically, when I was learning Kung Fu, I learned two different types of duck walks. Okay, and this is confusing. When you go online, go on YouTube, look up duck walks, you'll see that there are definitely two different duck walks. And I want to know what's up with that. So I'm going to explain both of them to you, some advantages and disadvantages of each. Okay, the first one we're going to call the wrestler's duck walk. Now, this one I call the wrestler's duck walk. That's just a name I came up with just because you see a lot of wrestlers doing this. Okay, and what it's going to look like is this. Come down, my knee places down, my knee starts to track forward, and then my other leg comes up. Okay? Disadvantage of this duck walk is that your knee touches the ground. So if you're going to practice this, you either need to wear knee pads, or you need to practice on a padded surface, or maybe both. Maybe your knees are really messed up, you really need something. So I know people who are young, they still have old knees, what I call old knees. So just because you're young doesn't mean that you don't have old knees. Maybe you put them through a lot of abuse. Okay? The wrestler's duck walk also is going to put a lot of stress on the knee because you saw, as I pushed forward, my knee tracked forward over my toes. I don't know if you can see this, but if I'm here and my knee starts to come forward, that's going to put some stress on my knee. So, and then it hits. So that's 2 points where I'm stressing the knee. Now, the advantage of this is that it's a lot easier to do. The other duck walk is going to be a little harder to do. This one is going to be easier to do for most people. However, there are some people who can't even get into that basic position. Okay, so you'll see people that go into for the wrestler's duck walk, and they can't even get down into this lunge position. They might, if they're older, or maybe they're really tight hips, can't really get into this. And you'll see people like that doing this, putting their hand on their knee and leaning forward. For those people, I'll actually have them start on their hands and their knees, come up, and then place their leg up. And usually everybody can do this. And you might, and if they can't progress into the duck walk from here without falling, you might just have them stand up, right? Just practice that, going from their hands and knees to the lunge position, standing up, and work on that position over and over, okay? The other duck walk, which I just called the basic duck walk or just duck walk, is you're going to go down into a squat position and walk in the squat, okay? So it's going to look like this, right? I'm going to go down into my squat position and walk. Just like that. Now, the advantage of this is that your knees don't touch the ground. So you could do this out in the street. The wrestler one, if you're out on concrete or on the asphalt and you're really shooting forward and pushing through, your knee's going to hit the ground. It's probably going to get all scraped up. It's probably not going to feel good. This one is much more advantageous because you can do this out on the street, right? It doesn't matter whether the floor is padded or not, you can do this move. The problem with this one is that it takes a lot of mobility. So some people you'll see when they're doing this, their toes are pointed way out, right? We want to keep our feet straight in this one. They don't go low enough, right? So they do something like this. This is not a duck walk. That's just bending over. I don't know what that is. Or they lean way forward. So they'll do something like this. Okay, also not good. Okay? Whether or not you're doing the wrestler's duck walk or the basic one, I want you to keep your hands up. Okay, very important. Doesn't matter if you're doing wrestling drills and you already know this and your coach has you sweeping your hand over your head or whatever, that's fine. But if you're just learning them, just keep your hands up. It's important that you don't just keep them down by your side. Remember that if you're doing this for martial art purposes, that person could be throwing a knee, throwing a kick, something like that. You do not want to eat that with your face. Believe me. So keep your hands up. Either way, whichever duck walk you're doing, keep your hands up. Okay? I've seen some movement guys who do this for the hip mobility, the basic duck walk, and it's a great exercise for that. I recommend you do this one. And they just have their hands by their side. Because we're doing this for martial arts, keep your hands up. Okay? If I was going to program this as an exercise, I would do the basic duck walks more often than I would do the wrestler duck walks. Just for the fact that even if you have knee pads on, it does put some stress on that knee. If you do a lot of them, you may start to get knee pain. I would practice it. If you're practicing it for functional purpose, again, if you're practicing it for that takedown, practice it over and over and over and over again. But I wouldn't use it as a conditioning exercise because of the fact that it puts stress on the knee. The other one, however, once you have the mobility to get in there, I would use it as much as possible. It actually will help you keep that mobility. So I'm going to show you some stretches to help you get into the mobility for that duck walk. If you have any questions or comments about these, please put them in the comments below. And we'll see you next time on Mantis Mechanics.